My game was inspired by another person that we had on, DZD. He once played a game called Postal 2. Uh, I played the sequel, Postal 3. Now, a little bit of backstory on it. Postal 3 was developed by Trash Masters and Running with Scissors and published by Akela. Um, and I
Sorry.
picked it because the Metacritic is 24 out of 100. Game Informer gave it 1 out of 10, which I didn't even know they gave those scores in Game Informer. GameSpot gave it 3 out of 10. IGN 5.5 out of 10. Shows you how bullshit IGN is. PC Gamer gave it 21 out of 100. So very, very low scoring game. This would be considered, I think, crap. It was released for Windows in 2011, at the end of 2011. It's the third game in the Postal series, being the sequel to Postal 2, and follows the protagonist, the Postal Dude, who, after leaving Paradise in the previous entry's Apocalypse Weekend expansion pack, finds himself in the town of Catharsis, Arizona, my home state, after running out of gas and must find a way to escape. Despite the critical failure, I guess the game was financially successful and brought a lot of income. I I have played it. I'm about halfway through. The missions. I mean, so the Postal series is known for just being like really edgelordy, which I guess at the time of release it makes sense. It's a very cinematic game. It almost reminds me of like a modern or like nowadays they make like maybe like Borderlands is a good like visual like style of what it represents, where they do like a lot of weird backgrounds and like freeze frames on people where they're describing them. And obviously the game is just like over the top weird. It involves like peeing on people. God, the missions are so varied. I had one where you had to use a vacuum cleaner to soak up people's like tissue, because everyone had a cold apparently at a strip club. So I was vacuuming up tissue, and then the strip club got raided by like Mothers Against Gross stuff. So like these like people that were protesting. So then you had to reverse the vacuum and shoot them with the tissue with snot all over it. So that's like a typical mission in this game. It is very mission based. Um, you know, there's something to be said about a game like this that's like intentionally crude and crass. But I think one of my biggest complaints about it, I mean, graphically it's kind of a mess too, but it kind of looks like the era. But it's like, if you're gonna be a funny game, make the humor good. And in most cases of this game, it's just not like a very funny game. Like the writing is not particularly funny. Um, there were very, very few times that I actually like laughed. There was one mission that actually made me like chuckle about, and it was so like of the time too. It was it was a mission where you had to, like, all these cats were running around town, and they had like some kind of STD. I think they had syphilis, and so you had to like spray them and then collect them. And this is obviously very racist, but while you're doing that, the Asian people were mad because you were stealing their food. And so like they were gonna make them into like sushi
Oh,
or something. And so you had to like fight them off while you were doing it. And obviously they were yelling stuff in voices I'm not gonna replicate. But that was maybe the only thing that was like actually funny. And it wasn't any of like the lines or anything. It was just the concept was actually funny. But I mean, everything else in the game, like it's just like very, I don't know, they're just not that funny. They're not that creative. It's just like there's moms that are protesting, so we're gonna kill them. It was like it was almost like hatred. It was almost like a halfway point between
Mm-hmm.
like a normal game of that time and hatred. It was just like one foot into that, and it was like why like hate isn't really that funny. It's kind of like just kind of sad that you would go to the extent of like murder against people. Um,
Right.
there was one interesting idea where I was actually kind of impressed with it, where there was a war. There were two warring factions. There was like police and then a like protest group, and the game was like pick which side you wanted to be on, but it was done dynamically, where you would just whoever you shot, the other team would be on your side. And I thought that was kind of creative. That reminded me of like Metal Gear Solid 4, where they were actually kind of thinking about how to do it
Oh yeah.
like fluidly as opposed to like just pick a dialogue box. So I was impressed by that. And I was also impressed because I accidentally shot one of the protesters and then they both turned on me. So I was impressed that the game was able to translate that. But overall, it's like a real this game is just a huge shit show. So I have some more notes on it, but I'll let you guys ask questions if you want.
Yeah, I haven't played this, but man, a lot of what you're talking about reminds me a lot of those like later Saints Row games where it's like you just kind of run around, hit people with a dildo and stuff, you know. It's just like that kind of like what like this would be funny if I was in like sixth grade, you know,
Mhm.
like there's a I think there's a mission at Saints Row the Third where you have to do like a chariot race, but they're instead of horses, they're like gimps. So it's like a sexual chariot race thing, and it's
Yeah.
like this would be funny if I was like 11.
Yeah. Yeah.
The solutions end up being like killing people, though. Is that correct?
Most of the time, yeah. It usually ends up in murder.
Wow, interesting. I mean, because like some of it sounds like comedic up to a point, right? Like, oh, like mothers protesting tissues at a litter at a strip club, like that is kind of funny. But then, like, I think the next step is where it gets kind of in the.
Well, the mothers are protesting the strip club. You're just
Yeah.
shooting them
Mhm.
with the litter. And
With
yeah, that
tissues,
one
right? Yeah.
that one all they did was puke and then they left.
Just like
Yeah.
me.
See, I
So
think that's fine.
that was
I don't really
that
have an issue there.
yeah, but that was like early game, and then it just very quickly escalated into people are protesting this other thing, so you have to like go kill them. It was every episode I played after that one was just murder fest.
That's the point of the game, though, right?
Yeah.
It's like to be offensive.
Right. But the problem is it's just not that funny. It's like
Yeah.
Yeah, at a certain point, some of it's tasteful, and then it gets distasteful. Like I think that's maybe where it gets distasteful for me.
Well, not only that, but like when it comes to comedy in general, like you can cross the line and still be funny. It just
Mhm.
depends on the way you approach it. And this sounds more like the Family Guy approach, where it's like, "Look, we crossed the line. Isn't that by itself funny?" And it's like, not really.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
it's like just because you did it doesn't mean it's funny.
Right.
you,
Well,
you
like
gotta make it funny.
and there is dialogue in it, and it's trying to be funny too, and it's just the writing is just not that funny. It's just I can't even give you like examples of it. I tried to think of like an example, and I can't remember the situation, but him just being like sarcastic, and it's just not not funny.
So, did you enjoy playing Postal 3?
Not particularly. No, it was built. It was made in a time where I had given up on gaming, and it was just kind of like a reassurance that this would not have helped. Um, it's not very good. No, in fact, the first time I booted it up, it actually crashed on me immediately. I
Wow.
I have it on Steam, and I pulled it up, and then it started loading, and then immediately crashed. So I was like, "That's not a good start." I tried it again, and then it worked. And I didn't run into any bugs until one episode where I was standing next to a wall, and then my character got stuck, so I just had to reload. Um, but some of the things I said in here, like fan reactions, has been mixed to Postal 3. Most of the game players said it had too many bugs. Um, he also they commented that in August 25, 2012, Running with Scissors removed Postal 3 from their store, stating that it was in the best interest of the Postal community and encouraged gamers to instead purchase their earlier titles, stating that they are a far superior product for a lot less money. So
they know, right?
Yeah. Well, one interesting thing about this one too is that it went from a first-person shooter to a third-person shooter. This is a third-person game, and I was surprised that it came out. It was made for PC because it controls really poorly. I assumed it was made on console and I ported over, but no, it was made for PC, so it plays like really poorly.
A weird time for that game. Like, I think 2011 is a little too late for that humor, that type of humor anyway. Because it's like,
Yeah,
it's like going into the 2010s. It's like I don't like a few things still did that. Like I think at that park, South Park was still pretty popular, but for the most part, like a lot of that kind of humor was kind of fading away from the zeitgeist. So kind of a late time to do that too.
And it's crazy that there's even a Postal 3. Like there were enough people that like played the first two games that were like, yeah, I'll play Postal 3.
I think
again, it's
Postal
just,
4.
It's just that kind of humor. Like that was a big thing back, like that type of humor and like reverence was huge in like the 2000s,
Oh God, talk about being like out of date. There is a Postal 4. It's called Postal 4 No Regrets. It is announced in 2019 and released in 2022, and also received negative reviews.
Yeah, I can do that.
What year?
2022.
2022? Oh my God.
Called No Regrets. Wasn't that joke like 10 years old?
How many COVID jokes are in that game?
Oh God. I don't know. But it's described as the true sequel. It's described as the true sequel to Postal 2. They're just trying to forget that Postal 3 ever happened. That's probably why.
At least they're owning up to it. At least they're like, yeah, we fucked up on that one.
I like that the name of the developer is Trash Masters.
It's fitting. It's very fitting.
Yeah, that made me laugh.
And I can't even click on the name of them because apparently they don't. That's it. That's what's it.
That's it.
Anyway, that's my game for Crap Talk.
Hey y'all, don't forget to subscribe to them button mappers.